What's going on, everyone? So, according to Clutch Point's Brett Siegel, the Lakers would be interested in Kevon Looney and Gary Payton II if the Warriors were to make them available. Los Angeles is said to be paying attention to what the Golden State Warriors have planned, especially if they give up notable secondary players like Kevon Looney and Gary Payton II. Sources told Siegel, wrote, the Lakers would have interest in both players if traded. So, it wouldn't necessarily be like what they're saying is not necessarily that Lakers and Warriors would swap, right? And especially for LeBron, we'll get that out the way. I know Warriors trying to like get any star that they possibly can, and they want LeBron. They inquired about LeBron again, but this is more so about if they are able to land that star, right? So basically, the Lakers could snag those guys in a trade, right? Because those guys would more likely than not just be the salary filler guys, right? Like Miami, right? Let's say that Jimmy Butler changes his mind. He's like, all right, fine, I will sign a new extension with you guys, right? And they got to trade like Wiggins and Gary Payton and Kevon Looney, and it's like, hey, you can take those guys, Miami, or you could take two of our guys and we'll throw you a second, right? And you get Kevon Looney and Gary Payton II. Now, again, this is something that only likely happens if the Warriors were to trade those guys, right? And it's not necessarily that the Lakers get both, like, right? Like, if the Lakers get a center or two, then they might not have any need for Kevon Looney. But if they don't, right, like maybe it's like, or like let's say that they do trade for a starting center, but they need a backup center, right? Like there's options of flexibility there is the point. But this would only happen more likely than not if the Lakers end up kind of being the third team, or just kind of, they get traded to a team like Phoenix, and then Phoenix trades them to the Lakers just to get some extra assets or whatever, right? But as far as Kevon Looney and Gary Payton II can go, I actually wouldn't mind either of these guys, especially alongside Luka. Obviously, neither of these guys like spread the floor, but both guys can defend. Especially Kevon Looney is an excellent rebounder, and Looney's only 28 years old, by the way. He's still very young. Now, he's not a true center. He's 6'9", right? But he's got a 7'4" wingspan. So he's got the length, which really helps with the rebounding department. But you look at like this year, for example, with the Warriors. 42 games played, 16 minutes per game, shooting 53.1% from the floor, which is all from 2-point range. But you look at the foul line, that's where he's terrible. He's 50% this season from the foul line, but it's only 1.4 attempts, so not a big deal. He's averaging 2.8 offensive rebounds per game in 16 minutes of action, by the way. And he's averaging 7 rebounds per game in 16 minutes of action. And then he's averaging 1.7 assists. Will be nice and round up to a steal, half a block, and 5 points. So in 16 minutes of action, he's literally a 5 and 7 guy with, a steal and a block, or half a steal, half a block, right? If you look at his per 36 this season, he'd be averaging 12 points, 15 rebounds, including 6.2 offensive rebounds, 4 assists, steal and a half, and a block. So in, again, 36 minutes. So basically, if he was playing, full-time minutes, he'd be a 12, 15, 4, 2, and 1 guy. Now, obviously, per 36 doesn't tell you everything, doesn't give you the whole story, but that at least kind of gives you an idea. He can kind of be that lob threat, that floor running guy, a guy that can just kind of plug in, slot in a role, play alongside Luka and LeBron. He's also on an expiring $8 million contract. So he's not making a ton of money, right? So he'd be a kind of a cheap, like, backup option or alternative. Again, obviously they need a legit, like, center, right? Ideally a legit 7-footer. Like, I just don't want to see the Lakers be, like, super small. But, like, if you were to get him as, like, your backup, right? So, like, let's say the Lakers trade for, Miles Turner, right? Perfect. Beautiful, right? Best case scenario. well, then it's like, okay, well, you could probably still use a backup, right? That's better than Jackson Hayes and help rebound and stuff, and maybe even slot alongside Turner, especially with his ability to stretch the floor and stuff, right? At times, if you needed to, it's like, okay, well, who could you go with? Like, if you told me it was Kevon Looney, I wouldn't hate it at all. At all. Again, $8 million expiring contract. If he works and he's great, sign him to a new deal next year. He's a guy that makes a lot of sense that you can kind of just use in little key areas, right? But looking at Gary Payton II, he's 32, right? So a little older, but still young enough to have an impact. He's just solely defensive purposes, right? He's a guy, three-point shooting, he's not a three-point shooter, right? This is a guy that, doesn't even like to take threes because he can't shoot threes. He's strictly just that point of attack, just a guy that you'd slot alongside Luka and just be there to defend in limited minutes off the bench. So in 13.6 minutes, he's shooting 54% from the floor, 22% from three-point range. Again, only on 1.2 attempts. He's only a career 1.4 attempt guy. So he's not a guy that takes threes at all. He's shooting 68.3% from two-point range on 2.8 attempts. EFG of 57.7%. Free throw percentage is 71%, but on less than a full attempt. He's 3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, a steal or half a steal, and then 5 points per game. But he's a guy that's built a career on just being that defensive guy, right? Being one of the better on-ball defenders, being a guy that can just be an absolute pest and menace out there on the basketball court, right? He's a guy that, you're throwing out there to just be a nuisance for the opposing team. Again, if you can bring these guys in, I look at them as kind of more of like the end, like the end rotation guys, right? Like, so you got your front 6 or whatever, and it's like, well, you could use, number 7, 8, 9, 10, right? All right, let's go bring in a Kevon Looney, or let's go bring in a Gary Payton II. Right, let's bring one, if not both of these guys in. I'd probably rather have Kevon Looney. Again, it depends on how things shape up. I still don't hate the idea of Trey Jamison, right? 6'11", 270. Still don't hate that idea, but beyond that, right, like, they're just pieces that could fill out the roster, help you fill a void if you have one. But nothing to write home about. I just think it's interesting that that they're actually targeting. You just had a lot of Lakers and Warriors, just news about each other. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass the question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? What do you make of these two guys? Do you want either of these guys? Do you think, no, stay away from these guys? I wouldn't mind Schroeder back either. If you could pull that off, especially, give you a point of attack guy or whatever. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, either way, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.